like we are live. All right. I think we go. Boom. All right. We are live. Ah, what the hell? Probably seeing that commercial if you're watching it. Let's get to this. Okay, I'm all set. So I can see the chat here. All right. We're ready to go. Hey, everybody. Tony D and the dogs. Joan of Arc. And in the background somewhere, Truffle. They're very quiet right now. I don't want to disturb them. Had a bit of kerfuffle yesterday during one of the videos. Had to grind everything to a halt to take care of the dogs. Yeah. What a day. I was supposed to do this harvest festival, and I drove like an hour to go do it. Got all ready and get all the way up there. I put this on. Fix this chat. There we go. Live chat. Got all the way up there. Hour and 15 minutes actually. And the thing had been postponed a week, and nobody. Unfortunately, the email didn't get to me. I should say they tried to email me, but apparently I didn't get the email for whatever reason. Maybe they put it in wrong, or maybe I gave them the wrong email. I don't know. So anyhow, it's been postponed to next week for the Harvest Festival in Point Pleasant. So I'm still psyched to do it. It'll be better weather anyway. It's a street festival, so they're usually pretty good. So my next signing, for those of you keeping score, will be Captain Blue Hens on Wednesday. That's this Wednesday, 11 to 3. Then on Saturday, I'm doing the Voorhees Halloween Festival right my next town over, Voorhees, for 1 to 4. And then going back to Point Pleasant to do the thing I should have done today. And that will conclude, I think, most of October. I might get something on Halloween. I don't know. Talking to these breweries now about doing signings. And I did do one, but it was sort of last minute. That would be last minute, too. I don't know. They're local, so I don't mind like going and selling 2 books. As long as I can stop myself from buying food. So, all right. We're going to get into it. Is anybody in the chat yet? I know. I wish I had gotten the email so I could have done this at the normal time. I almost got back in time to do it at 2, but I had to run some errands, and I wanted to give myself at least an hour to promote it. So, anywho, let's get into it. Yeah, if somebody's there, say something in the chat just to make sure I know the chat is working when you get a chance. So, let me just make sure. Yeah. We do got 2 viewers. So, I don't know. All right. So, the big news this weekend is Black Adam. Black Adam may have finally saved the DCEU, maybe. So it looks like it hit its mark. Here it is, 67 million domestic gross, which is okay. But then internationally, it made the number. They were touting 135 million. I believe that was worldwide. So it looks like it made it. I didn't think it would. I thought it would be closer to 100, but they're pretty good at predicting this stuff, I gotta say. A lot of it's pre-sales, I guess. You know, a certain guarantee based on number of sales in the previous, probably using Dwayne Johnson's previous movies mixed with the DC movies and that kind of thing. So they were right on the mark here for this one. The numbers don't lie, as they like to say. So, number 1, Black Adam. I kind of want to see it still. I mean, I did hear one thing that made me go, oh, that sounds awful. I don't know how true it is. I think it's pretty true. It was Jeremy from the Courting said it. I don't want to say it because it's kind of a big spoiler, but it sounds really dopey if true. And interestingly, Ticket to Paradise also did surprisingly well. Now, 16 million domestic is not a big deal, but look at the international, 82 million. That shows me that celebrity still has some currency overseas. So that's pretty good. 82 million, that's more than Black Adam made internationally. So people are still seeing regular movies overseas. Hollywood, but this is both good and bad. It's good for Hollywood in general that they can make movies now and still make some money. It's bad in that now they're going to say, well, we've got to cater to the overseas market, which means things are going to get more European and other. They're gonna try to cater it more towards other cultures, which I think is a bad idea, because when Hollywood does that, they tend to be bad at it, and it tends to be like pandering. It's like you look at Ms. Marvel. I know it's a TV show, but still, it's like Marvel set out, oh, we got to have a South Asian girl to be a superhero. It's so pandering, and it didn't do well. It didn't completely S the bed like She-Hulk, but came pretty close. And like people in other countries like America, they all want to come here. They all want to live the American dream. So these people in Hollywood don't understand it's not like that in these other countries. When they go to these other countries, they go to them as rich American tourists, and they think it's great. Right? They think it's great, an exotic world. Wow, and you guys do things so differently here. Oh, I love how you take care of your people. Oh, we're so greedy in the United States. Oh, let's go back to the hotel and have sushi again. These people are idiots. They're completely tone deaf. If they had to live in those countries, they would understand like, oh, I can't get ahead here because the taxes are insanely high. And to move up into, I don't know, the movie business, I have to know certain people or have a certain political bent. Like, the rules are completely different in a lot of these other countries. You watch the movies coming out of India. Some of them are very political. And I don't mean that, like, in the way they're political here. I mean, like, they're kind of open propaganda almost for particular people and concepts. Not like, yay, India. But, and I'm not bashing Indian cinema for that. I think it's perfectly fine. But we don't have that in America anymore. We don't have people being super pro-American. Not that I want it to be so jingoistic that it's unwatchable, as some of it was in the 80s. It got a little out of control. Especially during the Bush era, it got way out of control. But, it's just a different world in other countries, and it's when you talk to the people who actually live there, like normal people. I have a friend who's from Canada, and he talks about how the Canadian health system is not good. It's not good at all. He loves it here. He said, no, back home it's terrible. Oh, it's awful. You wait. Yeah, you don't want to wait if you've got cancer. So I think that's part of the problem. These people in LA, they're too rich, they're too disconnected, and now they're refusing to hire any talent beyond people who are like, well, your life experience, which is code for, oh, you have the right politics. But anywho, Smile is still hanging in there. I guess it must be pretty good. I don't know, it's a little much for me. That scene from the trailer was kind of, ooh. Halloween ends, dropping down to 4. So I think that's it. Yeah, so let's look at last week. All right, let's see the full weekend chart. Go to previous chart. Yeah, so we went from 40 million in its first weekend. 40 million drops down to 8 million. That's a big drop. Now, Black Adam's at 67 million. The critics hate it, but the audience's score is high, which tells me it ain't that bad. It's probably on the. My guess is it's like Venom. Like, it's pretty good. Venom was pretty good. I think it would have been better had they stuck with the director's original vision, but Tom Hardy is a really good actor, very talented. In this case, I don't think Dwayne Johnson has those kinds of chops, but I hear he's pretty good in this role, and then people just like him. Dwayne Johnson is just likable. I like him. I think he's a nice guy, or he has that image at least. Yeah, Halloween Ends, down 80%. Still in almost 4,000 theaters. Black Adam's at 4,400 screens. Jesus. Lyle Crocodile, still sort of hanging in there. Don't think that made any money. Internationally, not doing great at all. I don't know. How much could this movie have cost? I gotta think it was 50 mil, right? For a movie like that, I don't think that's making money. The Woman King at number 6, doing $1.9 million. Yeah, 82 million worldwide. That doesn't sound like a win. Maybe it broke even. Maybe. Terrifier 2, I think doing better than expected. I mean, I'm surprised it's not going overseas because it is a horror movie, but it's doing all right. The buzz is good on it. I mean, for horror fans. So, it's not my kind of movie. It's just very typical, gross out slasher movie basically. But $5 million, this could have made decent money depending on. I mean, they could have made this for nothing, and maybe they did. I don't think anybody, big names are in it. Then Don't Worry, Darling at number 8. Ugh, this movie, not even $1 million in its 5th week. 82 million? No way. I don't think that's a moneymaker. Nah. Not for all the money they spend on advertising. Not for Chris Pine, Harry Styles, Olivia Wilde, Florence Pugh. Who? No way. I'm still bummed about Amsterdam. I mean, it looks good. I still kind of want to see it. But I guess I'm part of the problem. I didn't go see it. 21 million. Brutal. That is definitely a loss. Triangle of Sadness. Now, this one probably didn't cost nearly as much. That's a funny pic. Oh my God! Look at the what's her name? The movie poster. Just some millionaires vomiting. But I don't think it got the screens. Yeah, Triangle of Sadness is only on 280 screens. Now that's up, and it's actually up 80%. So it's kind of a bit of a sleeper. I think it'll be more of a cult classic. I hear good things on it. Barbarian's still hanging in there at 11. Did okay. This was probably a cheap movie to shoot. Tar. I kind of expected Tar to do a little better than that. People were pretty excited. It didn't look awful. Oh my God. Till? Did this open? It's only on 104 screens. Second weekend at release? No, that can't be right. That can't be the official release, can it? For Till? You're telling me that's it? 104 screens? $500,000? That can't be money. No way. Decision to Leave. I looked at this movie. What the hell was this movie? I don't remember this. Oh, it's a foreign film. No, I don't think it's the one I'm thinking of. Top Gun at number, what is this, like 15? Still hanging in there. Still making a little bit of money. It's done. But, it did well. Minions still hanging in there, making a little bit of money. Did okay. I mean, I think that made money. Bros, go F yourselves. That's a big drop. It was still in the top 10 last week. Now it's down to like 16. Oh, you're done. 11 million? No way that's money. No way you can market this overseas. It's a comedy, it's gay, it's got everything going against it for overseas. Overseas is JEC. Sorry, I didn't check the chat. Hi. Yeah, there's no way, bros. You can't market that movie overseas. You can't market to the anti-gay countries. The comedy doesn't translate. The comedy didn't translate here, pretty much. So, nope, that's done. Over. The Banshees of Inisherin. That movie looks good. It looks really good. 4 screens. That's all you're going to put it on a weekend? They deserve better. Come on, get the art house release going here. You're going to do the slow thing where you do more screens over the next week. Paul's Promise, I don't know. See how they run. Another movie I wanted to do better. It just 9 million. Phew. Yeah, that's a loss. 9 million overseas. Brutal. Poor Sam Rockwell. He deserves so much better. It sucks. That's a shame. After Sun just opened. What the hell was that? I did look at that. Yeah, it was just a standard drama. It didn't look like much of anything, I don't think. 4 screens. From A24. A24's cranking out movies. I'll give them that. Pearl. Another movie I thought would do better. Yeah. The Divine Proctor Master Salt Begins. What the hell is that? It's on 9 screens. No idea what this movie is. But it's on 9 screens. It's a terrible name. Brainwashed Sex Camera Power. Okay, what the hell is this? I don't know what this is. It's like a documentary, maybe? Made $8,000. That ain't much. It was only on 2 screens, but still. $8,000. That ain't money. That ain't money. But Black Adam, looking good. I mean, the only thing, I talked to one of my movie buddies. He thinks Dwayne is starting to show his age. I guess a little. Not really seeing it. You know, the muscles kind of offset that. You know, and he is bald, so the lack of hair, that also offsets it. I think he was going bald, or at least had a receding hairline going. He looks great, though. You know, he's just not, like, fun most of the time. He was fun in Pain and Gain, which I really liked him in. Hopefully this movie changes it up. I didn't like him in Fast and Furious because I think the Fast and Furious... I know it's a controversial opinion. The Fast and Furious movies are stupid. There, I said it. Okay? They're stupid. They're just dumb. I don't find them funny enough to watch even ironically. They're just dumb. They're too serious. Like if they were really... They're more like Smokey and the Bandit. I could kind of get into them. But Vin Diesel's just way too serious in that movie, in my view. Because it kind of starts out... The whole thing starts out very serious. And then later it kind of opens up a little, but not really. I wish Dwayne Johnson had comedy writers behind him giving him good quips. Because at least Arnold had that. You know? At least Arnold, when he murdered 40 people in a movie, he'd be saying fairly funny dialogue. And it was even funnier that he couldn't deliver it very well. Because I think the writers incorporated that into the screenplay a little. Where's Sully? I let him go. I mean, it's classic. Classic. Dwayne, like, he's got enough personality to be very personable. So, but he doesn't have that comedy delivery. You know, he's just, his delivery is very sort of pedestrian, which makes him likable, but doesn't make his delivery like, you know what I'm saying? So I wish he'd go funnier. Definitely serious is a bad move for him because I just don't think he has the acting chops. Um, you know, unless he's doing an action movie like this, where he's kind of semi-serious, well, mostly serious for Black Adam, or if he was like in a revenge thing or whatever. But he looks good. I mean, he looks good as Black Adam. I wish he had hair. It's all you need to give him is like the hair helmet that Black Adam has. Um, and he would look different too. And I think he needs to look different. I think that would help him to, you know, otherwise he just looks like Dwayne Johnson in a superhero movie. So if you gave him back his hair, just give him a hairpiece. You know? And it's also part of the look with like, I mean, he's the anti-Shazam. JC, The Rock works best as a villain. His wrestling character was a villain who was so good at being a bad guy, he got over with the crowd, became the most popular guy on the roster. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he was kind of a bad guy. I think he started out as a bad guy in Fast and Furious, but then he became their friend, and then, I don't know. And he did that movie, that other spin-off movie with Jason Statham. That looked awful. And I like those action movies. I like action movies, and I hate the Fast and Furious. It's just dumb. Every clip I've seen of it, I'm just like, yeah? So what? You know? I just don't buy it. I don't buy anything about the Fast and Furious. It's just nonsense to me. Especially the most recent one with that stupid stunt with the rope bridge and the car hooking onto the rope and being swung into the air. I mean, come on. Come on. At least the Bond stunts were like semi-realistic sometimes, or they'd be funny. Like, at least do a funny stunt. But, yeah, I don't know. I guess they're going to do 3 movies with Black Adam. I don't know how this one ends. Where they, you know, he's got to be trapped or something by the end of this movie, or else, you know, he's just running amok. I definitely want to see him fight Shazam. I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Superman. JC, the first Fast and the Furious movie is one of the stupidest pieces of I've ever seen, and I haven't watched any since. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad I'm not alone. You know, I have a friend, she loves it, but I kind of understand why she likes it, because there's a lot of hot guys in it, and that's why she likes it, but yeah, I'm not, I just can't get into it. It's just so dumb. Yeah, so I guess, you know, I think they're pushing, or at least Dwayne is pushing to do a Superman fight, which I guess is going to be number 2. But I guess, yeah, the third movie should be Captain Marvel, Shazam, fighting him and defeating him, and then the end. And he should die. Like, that should be the final Shazam movie. It should be, I mean, the new ones with Helen Mirren, which looks kind of cool. And then it should be an all-out fight to the death with the Marvels. And in the end, they kill him because they're forced to. Or like Dwayne like does something evil to try to increase his power, and like he explodes or something. Yeah, it should be like that. But I want to see all the Marvels live, because they're like the happy pure characters, and they should all live at the end. But I mean, the real comic way to do it is, of course, let everybody live. Like, they kind of kill Black Adam, but not really, and they trap him in a giant, I don't know, concrete idol and throw it into space, but he somehow gets out later. Like that. They should do a comic book ending so they could open it up for either another actor to play Black Adam, or, you know, a cartoon or whatever. The rumors that Dwayne Johnson has taken over the DCEU, I mean, it's possible. It would be weird. I think he definitely has influence. You know, I think like Robert Downey Jr. He could be Robert Downey Jr. of the DCEU, but the thing is, he's not. He's Hollywood, but he's not. You know, Robert Downey Jr. was Hollywood. I mean, he was on Saturday Night Live. People forget that back in the day when he was like partying, and so he's been in the system a long time. Dwayne kind of got in a little later, and he's not like he. I assume he knows everybody. I mean, everybody likes him, but he's not like Robert Downey Jr., where he's an actor and came up with a bunch of actors. So, like, I'm not sure who he's going to bring on board. Like, Robert Downey Jr. brought guys on board and wanted certain actors. And I mean, the guy's talent is just immense. Whereas Dwayne, I mean, who's he going to bring in? Who's he going to bring in? Like, some of the guys from his old wrestling days? I don't think those guys can act any better than him. So, you know, I mean, he knows people from Hollywood from being in the movies, but, you know, maybe he brings in Mark Wahlberg. I mean, Mark Wahlberg could do a superhero. He's still in shape. But most of the good superheroes are done anyway. Let's get into some headlines. We'll get back to Black Adam a little later because I got some news on him in some of these other headlines. Republican National Committee sues Google, alleging Gmail spam filters are blocking fundraising emails. I wonder how much they could get from Google by doing this, because I'm pretty confident this is true. Pretty confident. So, I don't know how they're going to prove it. That's the thing. Yeah, not much else going on. Here's Ryan Johnson. God, I can't stand this guy. Ryan Johnson and Bob Duck say on editing down the 4-hour looper cut and filming Glass Onion. All right, that's about it on Variety. Hollywood, of course, Black Adam. The School for Good and Evil. JEC, if they can prove it, it probably could get billions. I guess. I don't see how they can prove it, though. That seems really tough to prove. You would need insiders, I think, to prove it. Never understood this School for Good and Evil. Somebody told me in the comments it's based on a book. They love it. It just seems... I hate the name, the School for Good and Evil. It's just too on the nose for me. Where the hell is this other headline? I guess it was in here. Deadline. Oh, this was big this week. All the friggin' court dramas. You got Danny Masterson on trial for rape. Kevin Spacey skated on the sexual assault charge, I guess. I mean, it wasn't a charge. It was a lawsuit. Now he's got to go to the UK to face another one. You got Paul Haggis on trial. I'm not sure what's up with him. I'm kind of leaning towards Scientology framed him, because I think they are pretty mad at him for coming out against the church. Then there's a fourth one. What the hell's the fourth one? Oh, Harvey Weinstein's back on trial again. I've never remembered a time where this many high-profile people in Hollywood are in this much trouble. I mean, those are pretty big names. Even Danny Masterson. I mean, granted, he was only on That 70s Show, but, you know, they're coming out with the sequel of the show, which he would have been in, and which is bizarre too, right? It's like he ruined his career, and it's like all there for the public to see. And then you got, you know, all this coming on the heels of the Johnny Depp thing. It's like, never seen so much courtroom drama with these people. I don't know if that's good or bad. I guess it's good. Maybe it says something about OBG70, Tony D. Hello. Welcome. Yeah, sorry I was late. It's just been that kind of weekend for me. But yeah, it's just so many celebrities doing courtroom stuff. It's crazy. Oh man, Joan, your breath, baby. Her breath is so bad. It's like filling the room again. Just filling the room. The Banshees of Inisherin, I really want to see. It looks like a good movie. Searchlight Pictures, The Banshees of Inisherin, open to an estimated $181,000, a raring per screen average of 45,250, beating Tar's impressive 40,000. That's impressive. It's only like in a couple of theaters, man. It's not enough theaters. How do movies like this not get better? I mean, well, 141 screens here. I guess that's last week they're talking about. Yeah, no. Guess it was this week. Or no, the week before. They're talking about the opening. There's Tar. Yeah. 4 screens on the opening weekend. It's like too small. Like, what are the 4 screens? New York, LA, Chicago, and I don't know, Philadelphia, Miami. Seems like if you just hit every major city, you should at least hit like 20. There's got to be enough people in every major city to go see that. But Banshees of Inisherin, man, that looks good. It looks so damn good. I don't know why they wouldn't give it a wider release. You got 2 big stars in it. Was it Screen Rant? Oh my god. I just started looking at Screen Rant again for Hollywoke Hot Take, and it's like, the fierce, apathetic Black Queen has arrived. Hello. Hello, Queen. You. Hello. Welcome to the live stream. Yeah, Screen Rant, like, they just seem to defend everything that's terrible. Here they are defending Rings of Power, basically defending it, doing yet another article about Rings of Power. Like, nobody should be writing articles on Rings of Power at this point. In my view, it was just a terrible, horrible abortion of a show that should be quickly forgotten. But they're still doing pieces on it like it's the biggest thing ever. I mean, where's the fan base for this? Other than the angry, angry, angry fan base. Look at this article. When will we see the Rings of Power's other 17 rings? I don't even think you may see a second season of this. I mean, they're putting it in production. Doesn't mean it's going to come out. Amazon may regain its sanity and go, what are we doing? Cancel this. I guess Jeff Bezos is just determined to make it work somehow. I don't think you can dig this out of a hole. I mean, this, She-Hulk, they're done. It's over. It's over, Johnny. It's over. And look, Ray Fisher responds to former DC Films head stepping down? Like, you're still talking about Ray Fisher? I think Ray Fisher's done. I think he's done, at least at DC. And then they're talking about Andor, another show. Like, it just died. It's just not worth even talking about. Andor hints at what happened to the Separatists after the Clone Wars. Who cares what happened on this show? This is like taking the worst show that ever came out and talking about it like it's a hit. Like, I mean, there was a show on back in the day. There was this show. I think it was BJ and the Bear, and then it was sort of like a knockoff of Smokey and the Bandit, except the character was a trucker with a monkey. That was Bear. BJ was the trucker. And then they had Sheriff Lobo, I think, was one of the side characters. I think he was from that show. And then they did a spinoff called Sheriff Lobo. And it was just the dumbest show ever. It was like watching half of Smokey and the Bandit. It was like just watching the bumbling sheriff part of Smokey and the Bandit. The Queen says, your thoughts on Ethan Klein jokes about Holocaust on Ben Shapiro. Oh, wow. Give me a sec on that. OBG 70, not me. OBG, Star Wars died when Disney bought it. No, Star Wars died, I will say, and I contend this, when George Lucas introduced midichlorians in The Phantom Menace. That's when it was dead. Fight me. But Ethan Klein, okay. Ethan Klein, I think, is number one, incredibly dishonest. I watched what he pulled this bait and switch on Steven Crowder. He was supposed to debate him, and then he swapped in another host, some other lefty guy who nobody's interested in hearing his opinions, I think. We definitely wanted to hear JEC, bring back Sheriff Lobo. Google Sheriff Lobo. I dare you to watch an episode. So he swaps in this other guy. I want to say Sam Cedar. Was it Sam Cedar? I forget. Some like other lefty guy. And then just sat back and laughed, and it was so dishonest and disingenuous. So I think what Ethan Klein, he's not making jokes. He's just trying to hit nerves to gain attention. He is the guy who now he sort of had the zeitgeist, he had the attention, and I think he's kind of just tapped out of all his talent. He's just burned out. What he really should have done is taken a year off. Taking a year off, but you kind of can on YouTube if you want to keep going. So maybe take a month off, completely, detox or whatever, and then come back with new cool comedy. But instead, he's going down this woke path. He's decided he's going to be woke. Wasn't Hassan Piker, says JEC? No, it wasn't. It was Ethan Klein. Yeah, I know. It should have been Hassan. That sounds like something Hassan would say. So I think Ethan just is incredibly dishonest, and now he looks at YouTube. I think he kind of resents it. He resents the whole show and everything. He's been ruined by his own success. He's had massive success. I mean, I think he lives in a house in Malibu, like Hassan, and he's just massively successful, tons and tons of money. And it does ruin people, I think, And because of that, he's just made a business decision. He's thrown in with the wokies. He's just decided to go down that path. And he doesn't really care, I think, about his show. And he'll say anything to get people to watch and get attention. The Queen says, my mother want to force me to vote cause dumb struggles? What? I don't know what you're saying. My mother want to force me to vote cause dumb struggles. You're going to have to rewrite that one, Queen. I have no idea what you're saying. Are you on your phone? Maybe that's why. It's hard to type on your phone. My fingers are big, and the little buttons are the little fake light buttons. So hard. Either that, or you're getting caught up in the autocorrect. But yeah, so I think Ethan Klein, at this point, he just doesn't care about his show. He just doesn't care. So he's just going to do stuff, he's like the dysfunctional kid in the family. He's just going to do stuff to get attention. And, maybe it gets people, maybe it doesn't. And then he goes back to normal for a while. And he's not untalented as a host, although he's gross to look at, I think, now. You'd think a guy with his kind of money would get himself a personal trainer and, start cleaning up a little. Instead, he's just, I don't think he cares. I think he's really unhappy. He strikes me as a guy who's immensely unhappy with his life and situation. A little bit like Howard Stern in a way. Although I think Howard dealt with it much better for a longer time, because Howard, for the longest time, and I'm saying this in the past, not now, but I think it was very honest with his audience for a long time. Whereas I don't think Ethan was ever all that honest. He's kind of honest, but not really. Queen says, my mother is a wokey and she wants me to early voting or not. She's yelling at me. Early voting, what part of the world are you in, Queen? May I ask? Don't give me any two specifics, but, just in general. Which state or whatever. My guess would be Pennsylvania. So I think, he's just been sort of co-opted by the woke on the one hand, and on the other hand, he kind of just doesn't care. Kind of hates his job. It's not fun for him anymore. It's now like a drag. But like if he left for a couple of years, he'd probably miss it and come back. You're in North Carolina. Oh, okay, says the Queen. Here's what I would suggest, Queen. You just have to remember that when you go into the voting booth, you're all by yourself, and you can vote for whoever you want, and you don't have to tell anybody who you voted for, including your mom. So just say, okay, I'm going to vote, and then go vote, and then just don't tell her who you voted for, and vote for whoever you want. I personally, I'm voting red. I'm just voting red down ticket. I'm giving the Republicans, it's mainly to punish the Democrats at this point, but I want the give the Republicans a bit of a blank check for the next 5 years to like fix things, because I don't see any Democrat doing anything. But your mileage may vary, but I mean, I assume if your mother's a wokey, then if you're doing early voting, meaning that you have to mail it in, I wouldn't do that. I would go in person. Go in person, I say. But that's just me. I mean, you got to make up your own mind. In terms of your mother, it's tough to deal with when you're dealing with somebody who's woke. One of the things you can do, and I highly advise this, especially with family members, is create a policy where you don't talk about politics with your family, because it is very divisive, and I think you can end up with a lot of hurt feelings. OBG70, the only Democrat I tolerated has left the party, LOL. Yeah, Tulsi Gabbard was tolerable. The thing about politics, and the old saying is, politics and religion is something you avoid in polite company. So I feel that, in my family, we stopped talking about politics. I just said, listen, you're not going to be convinced. I'm not going to be convinced. Let's stop having political discussions when we have dinner. And now it's much better. There's no tension. There's no arguments. And we don't talk about politics. I don't talk about politics with my family. At least the family members I'm thinking of. Some of the other ones that are more agreeable to my positions, we talk on the slide. But I would just avoid talking about politics with your family. Just say, I think, JC, Tulsi was easy on the eyes at least. She was. She's not bad. Although my favorite is Kristi Noem. Oh, Kristi Noem. Ooh, mama. Queen says, Democrats originally were slavers and pro-racial segregationists in the 20s and 1960s. Yes, they were. And that makes sense, because the Republicans freed the slaves during the Civil War, and the response was all the Confederates all became Democrats. So that's the fallout. OBG70, Hawaiian surfer girl, served her country and mostly sane viewpoints with a few exceptions, but she would at least give you a good argument. Yeah, and Tulsi seems relatively honest for a politician. Sticks and Hammer calls her a bit of a grifter. I think she is a politician at heart. Razorfist says she's going to end up with what's left of the Democratic Party, and she seems like she's angling for that, but she may have a long wait. We may be going through some real heavy destruction over the next couple of years. So, but getting back to Ethan Klein, I just think you'd be doing Ethan Klein a favor if you stop watching his show. At this point, I think he's so far gone in terms of, a guy who hates what he does, that, like, I enjoy this. I enjoy talking. Sometimes I'm driving around going, man, I got a good thought in my head. I wish I was doing a YouTube video for this. Whereas, you don't see Ethan really do too much laughing. Every clip I see him in, he's just got a scowl on his face. He seems miserable. Black Queen. Just like I don't want to say that word, the bad guys from Germany and the bad guys from Germany party and the leader from the bad guys in Germany were socialists and vegans, as liberals in America were today, you said, but are today, yeah. I mean, they are authoritarianism. It's not just the bad guys from Germany. It's really anybody who is, on the one hand, they're personally weak, and on the other hand, they crave power to sort of offset their own personal weakness. And definitely the leader of the bad guys from Germany was one of those people. He was personally very weak, and he was a drug addict. He had some probably, God, Joan, God, her breath just fills the room. He was a drug addict. He had a lot of personal weird things. Some of that may have been propaganda, but I think it was true. He probably had a thing going on with his niece, his young niece who killed herself, I believe. So, I mean, there's definitely a correlation there, but the correlation comes back to power. It's all about power for these people, because they've kind of given up on developing skills or working hard, and they see the shortcut, and the shortcut is just put me in charge. And then once they're in charge, they'll never let go of that power. Black Queen says the bad guys from Germany's leader parents were cousins. Yeah, that probably didn't help his brain. Although I think mostly the bad guy from Germany, he was pretty traumatized during World War One. There's a story, and he was a corporal in World War One. There's a story that said this leader of Germany from the bad guys from Germany, he was a corporal during World War One, and his unit was in this trench, and he left for some reason, and when he came back, they were all dead. Like a mortar hit the exact spot and killed them all. And he was the only survivor. Now that has got to mess you up, right? So imagine that happens to you, right? You're in a unit of guys, you're all friends with them, you know them, you're trying to get through the war. Every day you're saying, and it's already a terrible war. And you've had a few guys killed, but you're all like, oh, we're gonna survive this. Oh yeah, Hans, we're gonna drink beers one day, and then like, oh, excuse me, I gotta go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. And you walk out, and then you come back 5 minutes later, and everybody's dead. That's gotta mess you up. That's got to mess you up. And that's not all that happened to him, because World War II, speaking of World War I, speaking of World War I, All Quiet on the Western Front is coming out. And that looks, I mean, even the trailer kind of traumatized me. It looks absolutely brutal. Black Queen, war traumatized humanity. It's just very traumatizing to see people murdered, to kill people. It's not, people see it in the movies and they think one thing, but the reality is something else. I mean, you got to be of hard stuff to be able to kill somebody. And to see people brutalized again and again and again and again. I mean, you can't imagine it until you're in it. And God forbid we go in it. God forbid. I mean, these people who flit around and tempt World War III, as they're doing now, they're so completely disconnected from war. Oh, Sif Sifa is here. Ahoy, sirs. I'm only here on my way to bed in case this helps Tony D's reach. Oh, well, thanks for checking in. What time is it where you are? Um, yeah, these people, it's like Tim Pool has repeated again and again and again. Strong times strong men make for good times make for weak men make for bad times make strong men. Unfortunately, I didn't realize it when I was growing up, but I was in the best time of the world. Half 10, 10:30. You're going to bed at 10:30? Come on, dude, stay up and party. I go to bed at these days 3 a.m. Although I got the dogs, and now that I'm babysitting the other dog, oh man, they keep getting me up early. The bigger dog, she has to pee way more than Joan. So I'm a little punchy. But yeah, it's we've got a lot of people who have grown up in good times, and they just don't understand. You're asking for it. There's so many people I know, not even in my generation, most of them are smart enough to know, yeah, we don't want that. There's not a lot of woke people of my generation that I'm aware of. They were kind of woke back in the days of college, my college days in the 80s. We were SJWs, but not like they are today, Sifa, I would normally do until 1 or 2 a.m., but I'm ill. Oh, no. Feel better, bro. Feel better. F's in the chat for Sifa. So, yeah, there's a lot of people my age, they were that... Back in my day, in the 80s, it was very typical to go to college and be, woke-ish. I'd say, not like woke today, but yay gay people kind of thing. That was the big issue in the 80s. Gay people ought to be able to get married. You're prosecuting gay people. Leave gay people alone, damn it. OPG 70F. But it was a thing you grew out of, and even then, I used to have a comedy bit I did about the events that would be on campus, because when you do stand-up in college, you always do stuff about being on campus. And it was it went something oh yeah, I just got back from the Lesbian Marxist Film Festival, and I just rattle off all this woke stuff that's on campus. And even then we made fun of it. Nobody took the Lesbian Marxist Film Festival seriously. We all looked at it and went, that's stupid. Who the hell's a Marxist? Who the hell's a socialist? You got to be a woke-tarded to be that. Even though we were kind of lefties. But that was a different time. It was lefties of that era, liberals. You're coming off of their cool era. It was still kind of cool to be liberal, but it was still, you were still moderate. You were still moderate your views. You weren't a maniac. You weren't accusing everybody of racism who disagreed with you. You might say, well, black people have it tough in the cities or whatever, and yeah, there's some racism in the system or whatever. But you wouldn't think, oh God, we got to tear down the system and start all over. Nobody wanted that. Nobody wanted to be a communist except a handful of morons. But you would have these college professors, even back in my day, who would say, socialism would work if we gave it a chance here. And a handful of you'd have a handful of guys who were hardcore about it, but most people would just, I don't give a crap about that. And they would just go on, and then as soon as they got out of college and got a job, they'd go, oh my God, I'm paying all these taxes. Screw liberalism. And they'd be get out of it as soon as they had kids. Oh, they weren't liberal then. When you're raising kids, you're not liberal. No. I have older relatives. When they were raising kids, man, they were not liberals. They were not liberals at all. They'd watch the news and see crime, and they'd think immediately their kids Like, I don't want my kids murdered or raped and, all these horrible things. Put these people in prison, damn it. When they'd see a newscast about some horrible crime that happened, they'd be like, bury that guy under the prison. They were right wingers then. So you become, like, when you're super young and idealistic and you don't have to do anything and everything's being paid for, you're a liberal. And then you get into the real world and you're like, oh, screw this. And then you become way more right wing. And then later when you retire, you start to go back to the left because now you got some money and you're totally insulated and you're like, oh, and your kids are grown up and they're not your problem anymore. And it's like, oh, yeah, no, we should be nicer to the world. Maybe we should give people money. Yeah, maybe you should. Money bags. Although when it comes to money, most of these people, they just immediately bail, right? I love the all-time best is the Lotus Eaters showed the footage of this one time. So the big issue in England is immigration. It's ridiculous over there. It's way worse than over here. Like, our country's so big, we could still keep taking immigrants, even though we probably shouldn't. But in the UK, they got a real problem. They got a real housing problem. They just got way too many people and not enough houses, and they just keep letting people in and giving them money or whatever. So they went to a protest, and it was a bunch of protesters who were pro-immigration. Yeah, let more people in. And so they asked them one at a time, will you take an immigrant in, into your home to live with you? And every single one of them said no. And they all had excuses. Oh, I can't right now. This is a bad time. This is a bad time. They're all hypocrites. See, when it comes to their comfort and their money, they're Republican as F. But when it comes to somebody else's money, no, we should be liberal with your money. Oh, not my money. No, I need my money. Yeah. So that's kind of the dynamic, I think. Man, I went off on a tear there, didn't I? And it all started with Ethan Klein. Damn him, Ethan Klein. Yeah, and Ethan Klein just attacks people. I wouldn't even, as much as I would love to have Ethan Klein's, audience, or a few thousand of them suddenly subscribe to my channel, I wouldn't want Ethan Klein to get wind of me or talk about me, because I just don't want the drama. I don't like internet drama. It's boring to me. It's so boring. I love Jeremy over at The Quartering, but sometimes he does videos on that, and I just go, I don't need to hear this, and I just tune out, or I don't even watch him. But Sif Sifa, you guys hear about Alex Jones being fined nearly $3 trillion, as if such an amount even exists? Yeah, as if he has that. Did he actually get fined $3 trillion? I know he got fined like, what was it, 965 billion or million or something? There's no way those numbers stack up. The only reason they're doing that is they're trying to get all his money and keep him in debt forever. That kind of egregious thing is, it's a couple of things. Number one, it's the old saying, oh my God, I cut my finger. The old saying, when you cut out a man's tongue, you only prove that you are afraid of what he has to say. And so, obviously, all you're doing is you're giving credence to everything Alex Jones has ever said, which is dumb on their part if they actually wanted to tamp this guy down. Number two, they're just punishing him so egregiously that now he has all the reason in the world to appeal and all the legal standing to do so. And it's going to be appealed, and it's not going to be anywhere near that. JEC, I think they're starting a new lawsuit for trillions, and they want more than the GDP of France in a year. Sifa, I got 2.75 trillion on top of the first fine. Yeah, that seems like an insane number. There's no way Alex Jones has anywhere close to that. I don't even think there's no ways that I don't even think he's a billionaire. Nobody. I'm unaware of anybody who's become a billionaire because of YouTube. and he's not even on YouTube anymore, and that's where all the money was. Yeah, he's got InfoWars, but he's on all the alt tech stuff, so he ain't making that kind of money anymore. They're just trying to bankrupt him in InfoWars. They're just trying to kill InfoWars is what it comes down to, which is dumb because they make them a martyr. And everybody will remember InfoWars, just like everybody remembers Julian Assange. They're not, the leaks haven't stopped. The only thing they're doing is they're trying to nail another guy to the cross. So, and then you got the Republicans coming in. Maybe some of the Republicans will do something to save him. But I honestly think part of the problem is Alex Jones's law team doesn't seem to be that good. So I'm not sure if that is true or that's just my perception, or maybe it's a tactic that Alex picked guys or hired guys and said, go ahead and screw up this case because we want to keep this trial going for the appeal. And the longer they keep it going, the better chance he has to turn it over, maybe? I don't know. But the Sandy Hook people, I'm not interested in them. Yeah, it was a terrible tragedy. Alex probably shouldn't have said half the things he said, but I don't see how this money solves anything. They just... we've created these people, they're all professional victims now. Like David Hogg, that's another guy. I can't stand him. It's like, okay, something bad happened to you. I feel bad something bad happened to you. Something real bad happened to you. It's not good, but you don't get to lord over me just because you had something bad happen to you. Everybody's had something bad happen to them. I've had a few bad things happen to me. So what? So what? Or are you going to be king victim? Victimhood is not a thing I respect. It's not a currency I go, oh, I have to, but the media does. OBG70, I think it's Robert Barnes, isn't it? He is supposed to be pretty good. I don't know. Doesn't sound like he's pretty good, but maybe it's just a kangaroo court set against him. But sounds like to me they have all the material they need for tons and tons of appeals. JC, David Hogg wasn't even at the school that day. Yeah, but I'm sure he was traumatized. He did go to that school, so. Sif Sifa, love you, pray, good night. I think those emojis mean. Oh, emojis. Oh, how about that thumbs up emoji? That got messed up, right? They said, "Oh, that's racism. That's a racism." All right, we were talking about movies at some point. Let's see. Screen Rant. What a joke. I think there was something on. Yes. So they're race swapping. It looks like they're trying to race swap Wonder Man, which seems like a weird character to swap out. And I said this before in a previous podcast. I don't know if this actor's a good pick for Wonder Man. To me, Wonder Man always was bodybuilder guy. And this actor, to me, he doesn't seem like a bodybuilder type. And he also was super handsome. I guess he's handsome enough, but I don't think he's like the movie star handsome guy who looks like a movie star in a movie, if you know what I'm saying. Those guys got to be super handsome. So I think this is a bad move. It's it feels like also too Hollywood's just typecasting everybody. Oh, you were already in a superhero movie? Oh, let's put you in a superhero movie in Marvel now. He is a villain. He's got a good villain look, I think, because he's got kind of a, maybe it's just his picture, there's a little bit of meanness to him in his eyes. But yeah, I don't know. To me that's not going to work. You put the glasses on him, he's not going to look anything like Wonder Man. Wonder Man is not a good character to even do in a movie. Maybe you throw him into the Avengers, the second string Avengers. You do Avengers West Coast, maybe. But you're going to do a Wonder Man movie? JEC, who gives an F? It's Wonder Man. No one cares. They can't make anyone care. They're scraping the bottom of the barrel. Yeah. Yeah. This is it. What's next? Tigra the movie? Do you even know who Tigra is? It was West Coast Adventures was Tigra, War Machine, Black Knight. Black Knight. That's a good character because at least you got the fantasy tie-in. You know, he has a magic sword. It's not a bad character. Wonder Man's just sort of very generic superhero. Like, at least Black Knight you could kind of do something with. You know, you could tie it into history, and the magic helps. The superhero science-y stuff, that used to fly better, 4 decades ago, when it was still, you still kind of had this idea, ooh, if you get irradiated, you get superpowers. Like, nobody believes that now. Like, back in the 60s, they kind of said, maybe. It's probably not going to happen, but maybe. Now, like, nobody's going to say that. I mean, Family Guy did a joke about that. Black Queen says, I hate race and gender swapping original characters. Yeah. I mean, JEC's right. Nobody knows who the hell this character is. The normies, so they're not going to know, but, like, I just don't think he's right for the role, If I had to pick a character, like, he could do Black Knight. Black Knight he'd be good for because he's not super muscular. And he's got a bit of grittiness to him, but not so much he couldn't be a superhero. Or, the Black Knight or whatever. But I guess they wouldn't do that because then they'd think, oh man, they cast a black guy as a Black Knight. I don't know if that would be a problem, if that would be problematic. But, I mean, Marvel still has a huge roster of superheroes they could just draw from. Or why not just make up a guy at this point? I mean, they're making up characters left and right to just get more representation. I mean, Ironheart, the dumbest character ever. That looks like nothing. Oh boy, I didn't call up a tab for it, but Wakanda Forever does not look like it's going to be good at all, which is a shame. It could have been decent at least. I like the first movie, but man, Wakanda Forever just looks like it's got everything going against it, and it has Ironheart in it for some reason. Namor, like, we were discussing this at one of my signings, and I was like, Namor, really? And somebody, like, across the room was like, who's Namor? And I'm like, exactly. This character hasn't been popular since, like, the 40s. And you're going to bring in Namor. And it's not even him. And you get an actor who's not totally ripped. Like Jason Momoa, one of the reasons Aquaman has been a hit is because Jason Momoa is ripped, right? So, like, he could have been Namor because Namor's ripped. He's a superhero. They're all ripped. But, you got to have a guy who's ripped to play Namor. All he does is swim all day. I mean, he's going to be ripped. He swims and he eats fish. It's not like he's eating fast food. There's no fast food in Atlantis. He's going to be ripped as F. So they hire this actor, but he's kind of doughy. Doughy enough that they start making fun of him online. Like all the actors in Hollywood that are ripped, you hired this guy, you cast this guy as Namor? I just don't get it. Out of all the people. You know how many ripped guys that are in Hollywood right now? You know how many beautiful women there are in Hollywood right now? I used to live in LA for a short time. I would marvel when I walked around at the beautiful women. I saw a woman so beautiful one time. She was waiting on, like, some casting agent. I was walking past the office in a hallway, and it was really weird and had pillars in the hallway. Walked smack into a pillar because I was looking at her. And, my God, she was gorgeous. But it happened to me, like, every day while I was out there. because I was always walking around movie studios and beautiful people everywhere. So you mean to tell me you didn't find a guy who could act and was ripped? Impossible. You find 10 guys. You throw a stick out your window at Hollywood, you'll hit 3 guys that are ripped. 3 of them. Easily. No joke. Now I'm doing Joe Biden. No joke. Yeah, here's Wakanda Forever. Look at this. Scaling back the merch plans. Tell me they don't know. Tell me they don't know that this is not going to be a good movie. Scaling back the merch plans out of concern the sequel's lack of T'Challa may alienate black male audiences. Well, first off, it's not a guy thing, although it kind of that's partly it. Maybe some of the male fans were like, I don't want to see Letitia Wright, but most fans were fine with Letitia. She was in the first movie, and it's not Marvel's fault that Boseman died, so people can forgive the swap. JC should have got The Rock to play Namor. Had him just do his wrestling character. Yeah, The Rock would be he'd be a good Namor because he's not, he looks exotic, right? You put the ears on him. He's a little too muscular, but he would have been cool as Namor. But he also is a good look for Black Adam. But again, I wish they gave him the hair. He'd be better with the hair. But yeah, I mean, they're scaling back the merch. They know they got a stinker on their hands, I think. They know boys are probably not going to play with a Letitia Wright female Black Panther figure. But, and again, Namor is nothing. Ironheart is less than nothing in my view. You're talking about a comic no one read. Like, American Chavez being in Doctor Strange was bad enough. American Chavez, however, sold far more copies, I think, if I'm remembering the numbers correctly, than Ironheart did. And at the very least, American Chavez got relaunched, I don't know, I think 3 times, and got put into a video game. Not that she's popular either, she's not, but, at least the character got some amount of exposure, but Ironheart has nothing. I think Ironheart has 1 run, and it died, like, almost immediately. Black Queen says, more like Wakanda. Not sure what you're referring to. Oh, more like... Oh, there... Okay. More like Wakanda never. There it is. Okay, now I get it. Nice. So, yeah, I think this is the end of the Black Panther franchise, quite frankly, until they relaunch it. And you know what's coming, right? You know it's going to be, misogynists won't see Black Panther 2. Here's why. Here's why you're a misogynist if you don't go see Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever. It's like, you didn't need to do this. It's a shame, though. Although if Boseman had lived, I wonder what movie they would have made. JC, America's comic was terrible. Your boy Zach built his channel making fun of it. It was so over the top bad. Yeah, but at least it came out. Like, at least people trashed it. Like, they didn't even trash. I mean, they did trash Ironheart, but like not to the level they did with American Chavez. American Chavez is at least spectacularly stupid. I think Ironheart is just straight up rip off of Iron Man. Black Queen, even their sexism in Africa. Yeah, there should be sexism in Africa, really. I mean, when you think about it, it's pretty old school in a lot of African countries. But yeah, no, they're woke now. Everybody's going woke. That would have been part of the fun if they had done this like back in the 90s. If they had done this movie back in the 90s, or the whole Marvel launch in the 90s, it would have been a different deal. They would have been even more phase one would have been even more awesome, if you can imagine, because they would have been fine with all the cool stuff that's in Black Panther, which is obviously, you know, a total monarchy or whatever. JC, Ironheart had more reboots than America. She did? She was kind of a fascist in the comics. Ironheart had more reboots? Oh. Well, I don't know. Really, they're both terrible characters. I think we can agree on that. And it's just like, who read these comics? Who's the audience? You're going to, who was the audience for Ms. Marvel? Same thing. I mean, I think Kamala Khan, or no, wait, that's the name of the character. The exec at Marvel. She's the audience, the one that they built the character around. So, yeah, this is going to be, it's probably going to make some money because, like I said, you're going to have fans who desperately want this movie to be good, and they're going to go see it, and they're going to say, well, wasn't that bad? You got to give it a chance. I like parts of it, that kind of excuse. And I've been there, I was that way with probably Star Wars, probably Return of the Jedi. Black Queen says homophobia exists in black communities. Yeah, sure, it exists kind of everywhere, but it's like the problem is DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's become the Politburo for these companies. You have a DEI division, and their job is to make sure no one says anything wrong. JC, they launched Ironheart in the Iron Man title proper. The book was about her for like over a year, then gave her multiple reboots of her own titles. Ugh, yeah. I don't know. I didn't even follow it. I remember Zach making fun of it. And terrible name too, Riri Williams. I just don't like that name. It's just yeah, it's so I don't see where any of this is going other than people just come out of that theater pissed. That's the thing that's almost impossible to measure, other than the drop off maybe from the initial spike in sales on the first weekend, and then the huge drop off as people review it and talk about it online. And again, it's the alpha fan theory I have, which is you have a friend, and maybe it's probably all of you. You're the friend in your group who follows this stuff, and then you rush out to go see a movie like Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and you go and see it, and you're like, what the hell is this? And then all your friends ask you, oh, I'm thinking about going to see that Wakanda Forever. Is that ain't good? And you go, oh, God, don't waste your money. So, Black Queen says homophobia and transphobia was a big thing in Africa as woke kept silence. Yeah, I mean, that's part of the problem with the woke tards, as I call them. They are, they don't care that there's plenty of countries in the Middle East that are incredibly homophobic and transphobic in their ways. They're not standing at their embassies protesting. They're protesting people here. They just had another baker dragged in court in California. He didn't want to make a gay wedding cake. And I just did a rant about this. Like, hey, are there no gay bakers? Like, if you're gay and you're going to get a wedding cake, like, why would you go to the straightest, most Christian baker in town? Like, why wouldn't you go to the gay baker and give him the business? It's just ridiculous. Brian Michael Bendis, says JEC, has a black adopted daughter. That's why he keeps trying to force these characters on everyone. He did the same thing at DC with Naomi. Oh, God, Naomi was terrible, that TV show. Jesus, even the trailer stank. I watched a few different trailers and clips from that show, and every scene was like, what is this? This is dumb. It's just like, they should have called that show Fangirl, because that's all it was. It was just like, a fangirl gets superpowers. And it just was terrible. Absolutely terrible. I don't know, these virtue signaling. I mean, Brian Bendis. I mean, he can write when he wants to, but I think some of these guys just burn out after a while. Um, Again, it has to do with success. Success does ruin people. Look at George R. R. Martin, right? Here's a guy, like, he's writing and writing and writing and writing and writing books, and then he gets this huge success, and like, where's the book, man? Where's the end of Game of Thrones? OBG 70. Going to Christian Baker is a political stunt. They want them to say no so they can take them to court and cancel them. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Let's go to another Baker. Black Queen, there's gay bars. Their gay bars were destroyed and raided in Russia and Africa. Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, they're not big on gay people in Russia either. Bendis, JEC, Bendis has been washed up for over 10 years. Yeah, he hasn't really done anything. I think longer than that, because really, like, his early independent stuff was pretty good, and some of the early stuff was good, but it's like, I get it. You get used to that paycheck and you want to save it, but I don't know. A lot of the comic guys, they just don't have the spine or the will to push back. That's why, as much as I have complaints about the Image guys, and I could complain about them all day long, I have to admire the Image guys, because I was there back in the 90s when they went out on their own, and as much as they made a ton of mistakes, those guys, you can't push them around. No sirree, Bob. Although Jim Lee has kind of gotten to the point where maybe they're pushing him around a little now that he's running DC, and now he's under the corporate thumb, I guess. But man, you can't push around Todd McFarlane. Whew, you try to push that guy around, he'll tell you to go F yourself. That guy's a relentless guy. He's relentless, Todd. And I respect him for that. I have a deep respect for Todd McFarlane. I don't always like his comics. I think Spawn could be great. He doesn't quite have the writing chops for it. He's got some good ideas, but I got a huge respect for him. Even Rob Liefeld, he's a really nice guy as a person, and I kind of hate almost every comic he's created, but, you know. JC, he was Marvel's top writer-seller in the late 2000s. Yeah, but I thought all the stuff sucked. I mean, he was. But creatively, I don't know, man. I didn't think he reminded me a lot of Josh Whedon, the way he wrote, you know. It just, I mean, some of it was good, but like, to me, a more consistent guy is like Chuck Dixon. I like Chuck Dixon stuff, even though some of it kind of ran together when he got super big and he was writing like 6 titles at once. It would all be like military. I always call him like the Tom Clancy of DC Comics, but I liked his stuff because it was grounded in reality. Like, Bendis kind of had the same moves, kind of like Josh Whedon did, where it would always be about, it'd be too much about relationships and not enough about like what people were doing. You know, I wanted to see some, you know, and I've pitched these kinds of stories with superheroes having like, you know, issues back and forth or whatever, but, you know, that was back in the day when they did too much. JC, Bendis is one of those guys that talks too much and never says anything. Yeah. JC, Chuck Dixon is on YouTube. He's pretty good. Yeah, he's a pretty creative guy. Very based. OBG 70. I am a huge Chuck Dixon fan. Would love to have him come by on my show someday. I think I met him once back in the day. Way, way back in the day. Probably during my TV show days. I don't know if we interviewed him. I don't think we did. But I think I met him. Yeah. I don't think we ever interviewed him, though. We interviewed almost every major player in comics back in my TV show days. I did the comic book show in 92, 93, 94, and we interviewed just about everybody. We were supposed to interview Peter David, but that got derailed. We did interview Frank Miller. I interviewed Frank Miller, but I kind of messed up because it was right after Jack Kirby died, and I kind of mentioned Jack Kirby, and he started tearing up, and I felt bad that I felt like I ambushed him by accident. JEC says, if you message Chuck Dixon, he might come on. I've seen him go on lots of other people's shows. Yeah, you should message him, OBG7. He's a cool guy. I think he would like your show. I went on OBG70 show. It was fun. We had a good time. Yeah, it's OBG. I have Tony D come on with me, JEC. Yeah, I'll come on anytime you want. One day I'll have guests on here, I guess. I don't know. I tried to do guests early on. I had so many technical problems, I kind of got discouraged. I got to go back to StreamYard. StreamYard, it's easy to do guests. I was using StreamYard for a while, but this setup is just easier, and I'm usually just like today, I literally ran home. I had to run errands, and then I came back, and I'm like, oh shit, I got to do the live stream. And then OBG70, I'll have you on again really soon. But yeah, anyhow. Black Panther. I wanted to talk about this, and then I'm going to have to start to wrap. What now? DCEU. HBO Max just canceled 2 more DC film projects. Can you guess what they just canceled? Can you place your bets? Place your bets. JEC, what's the name of your channel? Don't write it in the whole address. It won't show up in the name of it. Typos. Sorry. No, I'm just goofing on you. Yeah, tell them your channel. I forget what it is. Forget the name. Probably was it OGB 70? Or was it? I don't remember. I don't remember anything. Ugh. So fried thanks to the dogs. Thanks to the dogs stinking up the place with their breath and keeping me up. Joan. Yeah, Joan. You with your tongue. Put your tongue back in your mouth. All right, so here are the things that may be in danger. DC's Strange Adventures anthology series got the boot. I didn't realize they were doing a DC Strange Adventures. Now, everybody knows about Batgirl. JEC found it. Good. There are rumors that Blue Beetle and Static Shock are likely to get the axe. I think they should axe Blue Beetle. I think it was a dumb move to develop Blue Beetle by itself. Even though the comic, and this is not the Ted Cord Blue Beetle, this is the original Blue Beetle that they brought back, and it did some business in the comic for a while. I think it's a bad move to even... I mean, they're doing a movie. They want to launch it as a movie. I don't know, man. Seems a long shot. Static Shock might get the axe. That's one I'm surprised they haven't done, because that's fairly good comic. The lead character's black. It would have been perfect movie to develop. I don't know why they didn't develop the Milestone projects first. They're pretty good products. They're pretty good characters. I read all the Milestone stuff, just about. The direct reports, this is from Bleeding Fool, by the way. JC, they wanted Blue Beetle because he's Hispanic. Yeah, I guess, but, I mean, if they put him in that suit, who the hell's gonna know? The direct reports that long in development Zatanna movie has been canceled. Well, that's a good move. Zatanna. Who the hell wants to see Zatanna? I mean, really? It's like a magician's assistant superhero? Like, what? I never understood Zatanna other than well, they needed some more female characters and Zatanna's in it. Like, isn't there Liberty Girl and a bunch of female superheroes that they S-canned back in the day from the Justice Society they could trot out again? I mean, geez, Zatanna. Another one that centered around Constantine is being canceled, being shopped to streamers. Keanu Reeves is now attached to new Constantine movies. As much as I didn't like them swapping out Constantine for American. I thought the first Constantine movie was decent with Keanu. I'd probably watch a second one with him. Although, again, I don't really like the swap. It's a shame. Shame they couldn't make it with Sting. Back in the day, it would have been huge. I mean, the movie they should have killed was The Flash. But we'll see what that mess is. There's also word that the Suicide Squad's James Gunn is hard at work on his next project for the DCEU, even though he's expressed some recent disenchantment with the genre. Well, gotta hand it to him. He's pretty good. OBG 70. I like that movie too. Yeah, it's not bad. It's based on some of the comics that I read at the time, which were really good when the comic was still awesome. Yeah, I used to love Constantine. I used to love all that stuff back in the early Vertigo days before they got a little too self-important in my view. And I think that was about Constantine with Keanu. Yeah, I think that was about it for me. House of the Dragon finale leaks online. Don't know how that happens. JC, Constantine movie was watchable. Yeah. So that's about it. That's about it, folks. I gotta wrap it here. 6 o'clock. So, final thoughts. I kind of want to see Black Adam. You guys want to see Black Adam? You think you're going to go see it? I think it'll be watchable. You know? I'm a little worried about it after what I heard happens to Dr. Fate, though. I really don't want to see that. If what Jeremy from the Quartering said is true, that sounds awful. My hope is he kind of missed a scene. He sort of zoned out and missed a couple lines of dialogue, which would have put it in context or something. But if they do what I think they're going to do to Dr. Fate, that would be dumb. That would be extremely dumb. But other than that, it kind of looks okay. And pretty much because the critics hate it and the audience loves it, apparently, according to Rotten Tomatoes, that maybe it's watchable. OBG70, a friend of mine, Dre, who you met on my show, said he really had a great time. Okay. Throw a couple of commas in there if you like. JC, what happened? I don't care about spoilers. Okay. So here's the spoiler that Jeremy at the Quartering said. All right? So, those of you who don't want to hear it, bail out now. Okay. So the spoiler is, apparently Dr. Fate dies? I think what he said was Dr. Fate dies and he just kind of stands there and lets it happen. Which I don't... That sounds really bad. My hope is that maybe there's a little more to it and things were happening so fast and he kind of missed it. And it's not that bad, but that would really piss me off if they kill off Dr. Fate in a really dumb way. It would especially piss me off if they killed him off just to bring him back as a woman. That would really piss me off, but I don't know. The whole thing with Dwayne Johnson being the new Kevin Feige, at this point, how could he F it up worse than the guys before him? I mean, Jeff Johns, my theory on him, he didn't have the power. I think Dwayne, he might not have the JC. It depends on the context of the death. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Dwayne Johnson probably doesn't have the creative chops to really run the DCEU. But, if he goes on instinct and his instincts are okay, I think he'd run it better. I think the problem with Jeff Johns, and this is just a total guess, is that maybe he didn't have the power, right? He had the ideas, we should do this, this, and this, but there were guys in the executive room saying, no, we can't do that. Whereas Dwayne Johnson, They probably won't say no to him a lot of times because he's too big of a star. They need him. So they'll just go, if it's easier to listen to Dwayne, they'll just listen to him rather than push back. So I don't think he could do worse for the DCEU than the last 5 or 6 guys who tried to run it, especially the last 2, I'll say. All right. I'm going to wrap it here. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Another great live stream. I'll be doing videos, my regular videos. I already got my news blast up. Thanks for tuning in. Next week, do I have a Sunday thing? Yes, next week. Next week I'm doing the show I should have done today next week. So the live stream will be delayed. And any one of these days I'm going to kick up my game and go back to doing a SteamYard so I can put your comments up. Black Queen says, see ya and peace out. Peace out. And peace out to everyone. And the dogs. I got to air out this room. See you in the next one, guys.